Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So first things first, my eyes, it's been a really long day. I'm tired. I spent the whole day doing absolutely nothing and it's exhausted me. And my eyes just weren't taking contact today. They kept going really sore and horrible. So you have my natural eye color today. Anyway, so I'm gonna do one of my MUA reacts videos for you guys today. One of the most highly requested people is of course Jaclyn Hill. I'm familiar with her, of course. I'm familiar with her lipsticks and all that kind of thing. Her videos not so much. I don't know how she does her makeup. I just never really watched them. And again, that's not throwing shade or spilling tea or anything. I just don't watch much makeup videos on YouTube. You guys know that. I've explained that to you before. So I'm gonna watch her videos today, see how we do, see what happens. Just before we get into that today, if you guys don't know who I am, this is your first time on my channel. My name is Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube and also in real life. And it is my goal here to help you become a pro yourself, or just someone who's really interested in makeup. And sometimes that means separating what we see online against what we can actually achieve in real life. And one more thing just before we get into this video today, I know a lot of you will say this video is unnecessary, makeup has no rules, but makeup does have a theory and some people want to learn that theory, so please don't be offended if I insult something you do in your makeup. So if you find this video interesting today, then please consider subscribing to my channel for more makeup things. Okay, so I'm going to slide as far as I can this way because usually I'm like this in the videos here and I'm all overlapping. So let's start with, oh, that should be a good one. How to not look cakey. Makeup tips and tricks. Let's go.
For today's video, I have absolutely no idea what the hell I'm doing. I do give so many tips and tricks in this video on how I have been dealing with my severe dry skin from head to toe. My scalp all the way down to my feet are so freaking dry. I can't get over it. So definitely there are a ton of tips in this video and one trick towards the end that I learned recently that has literally saved my life and made my skin look so glowy and so dewy no matter how powdery or cakey or dry and crusty it looks. So I've had to add a few additional steps into my routine. So I just figured that I would get on camera today and just sit down and talk to you guys, chit chat, and just throw on some makeup and show you guys what my routine has been for my extremely dry skin. So first things first, I'm gonna go in with the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. I used to love this. If you guys watched my...
I'm just gonna stop there just very quickly. A lot of people tend to skip skincare a lot. I noticed that a lot of influencers and YouTubers only tend to include skincare when it's been, what's the word? When they're like promoting the skincare. If they're like an affiliate or something like that, when they want to drop a load of oil on their face. To have skin, if you have drier skin and cakier skin, I've said this a few times in my videos recently, your skincare routine before your makeup might have to be different from your morning and evening skincare routine. Mine is completely different because I'm very oily but extremely dehydrated. So I want to treat those areas in the morning and evening with moisture and hydration. But if I know I'm going to wear makeup, I'm preparing my skin not to be oily, if that makes sense, because I don't want it to interfere with the makeup. So the fact that she's doing a video that's called How to Not Look Cakey and talking about her dry skin, skincare is so important before foundation. Skincare is a science. It's a really, really important aspect to your makeup. If you're not doing your skincare right, if you're removing your makeup with wipes every day and just whacking on foundation on top, you're not going to have great looking foundation. So I wish she spoke about what she just put on her skin, but that's fine. Let's get into it.
This was like my go-to foundation, and I've had to reintroduce this into my routine. I typically use the Too Faced Born This Way right here. I put this Hourglass all over my face, and I do go in with just a little bit of the Too Faced Born This Way, and I kind of just marry them together with a beauty sponge. I have to exfoliate so much. I have to shave my face constantly. I have to do so many masks.
Maybe that's why your skin's dry, first of all. Here's a lot of thing with texture skin. Usually when our skin is like ruining our foundation, it's because either oil's breaking through and breaking down your foundation, or you have drier areas of skin that you haven't prepped properly, so you can see it like gripping onto the texture of foundation. One thing with really textured skin is you have to be really careful. So if you are extremely dry, just initially going in with this much product doesn't give you time to kind of assess your skin and how it's coping with your foundation that day. Our skin can change day to day, hour to hour. Like you need to give yourself a little bit more time. I wish you had blended in that Hourglass foundation first, or even the second, the Too Faced one that she used. That's a little bit less coverage than the Hourglass foundation, I think she said. Use that everywhere first. Then see where you need more coverage. See what are your problem areas. You can't cover texture with texture. You know, it just doesn't work like that. So you have to work with those areas. For example, for me, where I'm a little bit dry around my nose, extremely dehydrated around my nose, extremely crusty around my nose, I know I can't go in with loads of foundation and start like building up product. I know that I have to do my whole base first and then work on my nose with my fingers, because I need to push that product into the skin, get it nice and heated up and warmed up. And so it's more of a creamier texture to use on that textured area. However, beauty blenders or beauty sponges, sorry, are really good to use with textured skin because you're not interfering with it as much. Anything where you can push and bounce is a really good way to, what am I saying? Yeah.
I personally think that all the oily people out there are going to be so pissed at me when I say this, but I think it's harder to deal with dry skin when it comes to makeup than oily. It is
100%, and because it's texture, you can fix oil throughout the day, you can mattify it, you can prep for it, but with drier skin, it's there, it's always going to be there, and it's again, it's texture. She's right. I'm not angry, I'm oily, I'm not angry.
Awful. It makes you look so crepey and so old. Like, you can combat your oil, but like dryness, it's just the devil. It's out to get you. It's here to kill, steal, and destroy. I will never give up a full coverage concealer because I feel like all of these hydrating concealers that are more of like a light medium coverage, they just crease so hard underneath my eye area and they don't last throughout the day. So I prefer to stick no matter how dry my skin is, no matter what I'm going through in life.
Let's just stop it there really quickly. This is something I haven't mentioned this a long time in my video, so I'll mention it again. Concealer like that under the eye is so unnecessary. We can look at her eye, we can look at the tone under her eye before and actually see that she's covered her discoloration, which was hardly there anyway. So I know she's using this to highlight, but more of a oh, I just got an email. Ooh. Sale 50% off. A more effective way to bounce light off the face in a realistic way that's not so heavy like that, because that's unnecessary, and again, we're dealing with texture skin, we don't want to pile up the product, is 1 dot of concealer right here, 2 dots here and here, and then tap that in place. Don't blend it across yet, keep tapping in place until you're happy with the coverage here. Same again here. And then when you're all done, nice and blended, then you can take the product across here. The reason it's those two areas is because that darkness, that where the blood sits under the eye, tends to gather here. And we can sometimes get a little bit red or even like a dark blue there. So they're the main areas you want to cover first and then take it across. If we're talking about how to not look cakey and not get those under eye creases, that will give you under eye creases, unless of course you have filler there. Which is fine. I have filler there. I'm not dissing that. But yeah.
I just personally think that a more light coverage can get really settled in all of your fine lines and wrinkles and actually make you look older rather than younger. I think a full coverage concealer, no matter what your age, is the way to go.
No, not at all. Okay, listen. The fix for everything that is wrong with your foundation is skincare. It's always going to be skincare. Because what breaks down our foundation usually comes from our skin out. Oil, dryness, texture, all this kind of stuff. The only thing that will break off, of course, foundation in this way is like water and sun, sweat. Sweat comes from within the skin. So a full coverage, imagine having a really wrinkled under eye, a really creased under eye, and then you're piling on a full coverage concealer. It doesn't work like that. It's literally, because it's full coverage, more products to sit in a line and gather. Same with oily skin. It's more product for your skin to congeal with oil and break down. Full coverage will crease far more quicker than light coverage, guaranteed.
And then the way you make it look the best is by the way you choose to set it. That's just my opinion. But also, my opinion is just the truth.
It's not. So what I'm going to say is the truth. So I'm going to be real with you guys now. I literally whacked this foundation on really quickly before I got on camera today, knowing that it's not going to look cakey or anything like that on camera because I have a bright light here. So I'll be honest with you guys, I've had a really lazy day. I haven't got any skincare on today. So up close, my skin is awful. It's patchy here, it's caking up here, it's caked all around my nose. You can see every single pore, every single pore. And the only reason it looks okay now is because of the lighting. If I was to put powder on top of this, you bet it'll be sitting in pores, it'll be sitting in a crusty area here. It's just not how it works. Your fix for your foundation problem is your skincare. I can guarantee it. You need to find the correct skincare. Trust me. Don't trust her. Sometimes trust her. Trust me over that though. I just want to analyze the situation very quickly, and I want to talk about realistic faces and realistic skin. She may have drier texture. Drier texture won't show up under studio lighting. It just doesn't. She has no fine, look, where's her fine lines? Where's her wrinkles? So at the moment, her foundation looks so smooth and it looks really, really great. But then we look at her eyelids and we have creasing there. That's why you shouldn't put concealer under your eyeshadow. Just gonna say that. So to be like, oh yeah, her makeup isn't sitting in any of her creases because she doesn't have any creases.
And I love this Charlotte Tilbury powder for the face. I'm just using shade number 2. I think it's called number 2 Fair Medium. I just take it on my beauty sponge and just tap it right under the eye like that. It looks like I'm putting a lot, but honestly, it just soaks in so beautifully. And
I have to be honest with you guys, if you had dry skin, like as dry as she's making out hers is, I would stop there. Maybe powder an area where you might get a little bit shiny, middle of her forehead, the nose, whatever. But to not look cakey, this is going to look cakey. I did a video recently on baking. I followed Huda Beauty's baking tutorial thing, and I showed you results that were in not studio lighting and, you know, on my phone and not on a camera and all this kind of stuff. I know some people love baking, but for some people it is just not an option. It is so drying. It is the cakiest thing you can do. And loads of people are like, yeah, it doesn't look cakey on camera. I hate baking, but I can say on camera, baking looks so smooth and so amazing. In real life, it is one of the most awful things I've ever seen. And I've worked on people that have come in and their eyes are so dry and they always complain that their under eye concealer's creasing, or not, it's not even their concealer's creasing, they're getting fine lines. I'm like, well, are you baking? And they're like, yes. That's why powder can literally dry out your skin, especially under the eyes. There's no point in drying that out. I'm not against a tiny bit of powder under the eye, but to leave it there to set, you're kind of interfering with the texture of this foundation that you've just worked so hard to get right. Just don't like it.
Because if you do more than one layer, you're gonna regret it, and it's really hard to take it back. But I will show you a trick.
I do have to give her, that is very true. Like I just said, is if you do too much powder, even if you spray it over with like a setting spray or hydrating mist, you're changing the texture of that powder and you're kind of congealing it and making it like this clay texture that doesn't quite sit well on the skin. Yeah.
I'm also gonna use that powder just to set my eyelids as well. Okay, so now to set my...
You wouldn't have to use a powder to set your eyelid if you didn't use a good eye primer. You need an eye primer that is waxy, blocks oil from coming through, not a concealer, nothing that adds hydration to the lid. Something like Urban Decay Priming Potion in the shade Eden is a really great one. And MAC Paint Pot in Painterly or Laying Low if you're a deeper skin tone.
You guys have seen me talk about this and rave about this, especially for people with dry skin. It is incredible. It is the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder. It has the most beautiful sheen to it. It's not glittery, it's not shimmery whatsoever. It just has this gorgeous glow. So if you are on the dry to normal side and you just want to enhance your skin, I highly recommend this powder. And I like using this more than like an all over face powder that actually has any tint in it, because it's just going to give me more coverage.
Why though? I think her skin has a nice glow to it now. I would personally leave that. I would be like, your skin's glowing, you're not oily, you're dry, you're pretty much going to stay like this. So bear in mind, before she puts this powder on, let's see what you think of the glow before and after.
So again, using the same beauty sponge, we're just going to put that all over the face, one layer. And I love this because it does have such a beautiful gleam to it that you really, I don't want to say you can't put on too much, but you kind of can't. Like no matter how much you put on, it doesn't really get like crusty or crepey. Okay, so something that I always do to make sure that I have on enough translucent powder, because I never want to go overboard with it, but I want to make sure that I have enough on. So to make sure that I have that perfect amount, I always take my hands and I just kind of touch my cheek area, because if it's sticky still, I want to put a little bit more on, because otherwise when I apply my bronzer, it is going to be choppy and it's going to not look perfectly blended. So just to make sure that you're nice and smooth, and that's how you know.
So I'm a little bit confused. Okay. I really don't feel like she should have used a brush to apply that powder. That's what I'm going to get at. If you want a veil of product, imagine a veil. It's a light layer, a dusting. Just a nice sweep of that powder would have been really nice. I don't think she looks extra luminous at all. I think she looks paler, yeah. But she doesn't look extra luminous, anything like that. In terms of things like bronzer looking tacky and things like that, a light dusting of powder, that is all you need. Just a light dusting, especially if you're drier. And here's the thing with beauty blenders, the way you're putting on powder like that, beauty blenders don't blend. This is going to sound crazy, and I love beauty blenders, so don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing them. I really like what they do. If you want full coverage, they pack product onto the face like a layer. That's all it is. It doesn't blend it into the skin. It doesn't do anything like that. Otherwise it would look natural. It is the perfect product for a full coverage. There's this kind of trend in foundation at the moment, and I've only just realized it now watching this, where we have to kind of change the texture of our foundation and the look of our foundation. We have to completely mattify it. This whole idea that your foundation won't last as long if you don't use powder is crazy. We should be looking for foundations that are made for oily skin, dry skin, combination skin. They're made for certain types of skin for a reason. You may need a little bit of help with a powder or an extra hydrating primer or something like that, depending on your skin type, but we can't all be doing the same thing. Someone who's really, really dry shouldn't be using the same makeup techniques that I use as someone who's really oily.
So as you guys know, this is one of my ride or die bronzers of all time. It is the Alexis Ren ColourPop collaboration. It definitely has more of an orangey, more like apricot undertone, which is why I love it so much. And I use it to bronze and contour kind of at the same time, but if I don't like the way it turns out, I just want to use it just as a bronzer, then I'll go in with a more cool tone, and I will just use it right there just to sculpt.
I do like the fact she said that about a cool tone bronzer. I say this a lot, and I hope I'm not boring you guys by every time I say this. Bronzer is to bronze, contour is to contour. They're two different things. Contour is to mimic a bone structure or recreate a bone structure. Bone structures give off shadow. That's how come it's a structure, if that makes sense. Shadows aren't apricot color, they're not orange, they're not terracotta, they're not bronze, they are grey. So they do have a colder tone to them. So you don't have to use pure grey, but something with more of a greyer tone is better. On a deeper skin tone, something that's colder on a deeper skin tone, like a purple eyeshadow. We're not talking a bright purple, we're talking like a browny purple.
I'm obsessed! So we want to stay right in here. Move upward, don't go too high on the cheekbone, and also don't go on the apples. So keep all of this right here totally blank. We're just gonna stick in this area and then come up right here on the side of the temple.
I love that she said that, because a lot of people bring so much colour onto the apples of the cheeks, and that's a really good technique if you want to plump up that area so you're quite gone in that area there. But to bring it all up in this area, even up to here, really lifts the face and emphasises cheekbones. Usually I would say to leave a gap between the temple and the cheekbone to highlight, but she has a more rounder face and her cheekbones are so high that she can afford to cut that area off.
It doesn't matter what the occasion is. If I'm going to take the time to do a full beat, then I'm going to take the time to bake. If I'm running out the door and I don't have time, I could just leave my bronzer like this and walk away. But the before and after of bake.
Wait, has she not baked already? What was all that powder for? That excessive powder? So we're now going in with more powder. Okay. And we don't want to look cakey. How to not look cakey. Makeup tips and tricks.
My face just gives you so much more sculpt. It makes your makeup look so much more put together and just less messy. So I just follow my natural cheekbone. I kind of can see my shadow, and I see how it goes like this. And I just follow that right down, and then just swoop that out like that. Honestly, you can let that sit for not even that long. You could let that sit there for a minute and then wipe it off, and you will see a difference. Bake this nose as well. Damn! That brush took my nose to a place. Okay, I'm such a psychopath about my nose contour. The bake, it's ridiculous. Okay, so now I'm going to slap on my brows which is the Borefest, and
I feel like if anyone was to watch this with really dry skin and genuinely had an issue with cakiness on the skin, and then they watch this video and then try to replicate it at home, I think it's really misleading. As well, if I was to have a client, I really investigate their skincare. And she says she shaves her face, especially around this area here, not just because that's where facial hair grows or beards grow, but in that area here, I find out when people shave their faces, that kind of area has this, it's almost like a thinness to the skin, and I find it really textured. Just like when you get any kind of treatment in that area, the texture seems to be very different to the rest of the skin. So to bake in that area when she's exfoliating all the time, she's shaving her face, she's doing all this other stuff, it's just really unnecessary. I mean, if you want to cut off that bronzer, do it with concealer or foundation or something that's still kind of hydrating your skin. Why are we have so many layers of powder? Even my dog just sighed, even she's pissed. Let's skip the eye makeup and just I want to see what her secret is for her face.
I'm the creator of Champagne Pop, and this is what my Champagne Pop looks like. It's so sad. So I'm just gonna hit it just nice and light. Oh, bitch, yes. I love highlighting the apples of my cheeks. I get comments on Instagram being like, when are you gonna stop highlighting the apples of your cheeks? I'm like, never. Like, if I've got these big ass cheeks, I'm gonna highlight them. So
I really like that also on her, because naturally, without the highlighter on there, that's one of the parts of her face that actually gets a lot of light to it. You can see a lot of light bouncing off, and that's my usual tip with highlighter. A lot of people just go bam, bam, done. I'll just stick it in the area everyone else does. But what you should be doing with your highlighter is looking where your face catches the light. So I would do it right there, down here, and a little bit on the forehead, a little bit on the nose here, a little bit here. So when you're moving around, your face naturally catches light, and light is bouncing off. It looks like you're glowing from within. It doesn't look like you just whacked some, highlighter on your face.
So now I want to teach you guys a trick. This is something I recently learned from my friend, also my employee, Anthony, that I have been obsessed with because I have been so dry, like I've talked about this entire video, that a lot of times when I get to the end of my makeup, I'm like, oh, like right now I don't see it as much. I'm not looking too dry. But a lot of times when I get to the end, I hate how dry I look. And it's to the point.
So we've gone through all this. And sometimes, he just says, sometimes at the end, I look really dry. Let me give you a tip now. Lose about half a powder. I think that would really help you out. Even as an oily person, I don't use that much powder. Like, I'm just saying.
So this is a trick if you have muddiness in your bronzer, if it's choppy, if it didn't blend out properly, if you have too much powder on, if you look cakey, if you just look cringy, if you just look crepey, whatever it is, this trick works, and it's really scary the first time you do it, but I'm telling you, it works. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Oil. It's intimidating, but it's amazing. So what you do is you take a little bit of that oil, just drop a few drops in the back of your hand like that. I'm telling you, the first time I did this, I was in a full-blown panic. I was like, no, it's going to ruin my face. Take your damp beauty sponge, dip it in there like that, pounce it around, and then really make sure that there's barely any oil left on it. Kind of just like bounce it. And then once you get to that point where there's really not much left, take that, and wherever you're feeling really dry or crepey, just lightly start to touch. And you'll see the difference between this cheek and my other cheek. So it does not ruin your makeup. It does not break up your makeup. All it's going to do is add hydration. Like right now, in person, this under eye now looks like there's no powder on it whatsoever. Where over here, I can definitely see powder, but this side is just like glistening, and it just looks like
you can see powder because you put on so much powder. Listen, here's the deal. Really nice tip. However, be so careful. Oil breaks down foundation. She said it doesn't. It absolutely does. The reason that's not breaking down her foundation is because she has a million layers on top of that of powder. However, it has to break down your foundation to, it almost like renews your makeup, if that makes sense. So it's back to liquid form. We could have had this glow, I'm not even gonna say it, with less powder.
I'm on nothing but just concealer foundation. It just looks beautiful and much more natural. It's like a lifesaver for people who have dry skin or anyone who applies too much powder.
Apply it before your foundation to help your skin before. I think we're done. I think I will stop there. Let's pause that. Okay. I think what I'm going to take from this And what everyone should take from this is makeup is great. It's really fun to do. Whack on products, do whatever you need to do. But listen to your skin. If you are really having trouble with your base makeup, with your foundation, with your concealer, listen to your skin. What's your skin doing? How is your skin? Do you need that product? You know, is it something else that you need? Is it your skincare? Are you hydrating enough because you think you don't need moisture, or are you not hydrating enough? Like, there's so many different things that can go on with your skin. However, the answer to not looking cakey isn't caking on product. It isn't caking on powder. It's thinking of ways to create the same look using products that are going to benefit your skin and the overall look of your skin. To me, that was a slightly frustrating video, and I am in a bad mood today. I've had a headache for 4 days and this eye won't stop twitching. But at the same time, common sense is common sense. If you have cakey makeup, caking it on isn't great. If you want to highlight in ways that are cream, or highlight in ways, you know, I don't know. That was a tough one, that was. Okay, so I don't think I'll be watching her videos again, to be honest with you. It was just very misleading. It was just full of a lot of information that was unnecessary. It may work for her on camera to look great, but there were certain times where she was contradicting herself as well. Like, she would put on a lot of powder and then be like, I can see powder. Of course you can. There's powder on your face. A lot of it. Let's take from this as well. Let's listen. Let's take everything people say with a pinch of salt. I've said that before. Tiny, 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 tiny pinch of salt. Anyway. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something from that. You didn't just take it as me just bitching my way through a video. I do have a whole playlist of me reacting to YouTubers and celebrities' makeup routines. It's not there to be throwing shade or bitchy or whatever. I want to help you guys out. I don't want you wasting your money. I don't want you wasting your time. I don't want you feeling you have to buy stuff. I don't want you feeling that makeup isn't for you anymore because what you see online doesn't work for you. Because reality is, it doesn't work for a lot of people. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you very soon. Bye.